We're coming at you today, another podcast. Today is November 16th. Today is Sunday, and we're coming at you with another True Fit podcast where we try to enlighten people on um, all the confusion and things that you may hear while, listening to the internet or social media or whatever. Today we're going to title, and this is a very true story that's close to my heart. We're titling this one the stroke. It was a couple of years ago. I suffered a major stroke, which was the third one that I had. Which luckily, and I know a lot of people who say, "Oh well, he eat right, he work out, he lived this lifestyle." But even with that, God can take you out in a heartbeat, And I didn't realize at the time how serious strokes were until I started doing research, and they're a lot worse than a heart attack. Um, so coming at you is a true story of a couple of years ago where I suffered a stroke. I spent 5 days in the hospital. I found out it was the third of my strokes. So I was very blessed to still be fully functional. And with no further ado, my co-host, Chie, Figure Prodigy to Louis, the one that actually saved my life by getting me to the hospital at the time that I was having that stroke, and I didn't believe I was having one. So with no further ado, here's Chie, Figure Prodigy to Louis, my co-host, and my savior. So here you go.
First of all, welcome back to Through Truth of a Fitness Sunday. Co-host Chie, coming from Underdogs on Top Studio. And yes, we wanted to discuss about the true experience that Earl and me had stroke on 2022. I remember February 5th. That was a Monday night. Why we wanted to discuss this, because I think of many people, long as we work out, we eat right, and everything, discipline, consistency, it was there for, the Earl, but he still had the stroke, you know what I mean? And was so, for me, was the first time I'm seeing just person having a stroke, period. And it did scare me. And it is so funny that day we were so tired coming from work. Normally I go to one of the room, and I will talk to my mother by FaceTime, and I go upstairs to lay down. But that day I was so tired, so I was upstairs laying down, and we were watching TV, and all of a sudden I see him started kind of laying back on the bed, and I'm like, damn, he just went to sleep that quick. And then so I got up, and when I looked at him, and his face was kind of, a drooping eye was back of his head, and I started shaking him, and he didn't believe, something wrong. He was saying, I'm just tired. Just gotta lay down. Just gotta lay down. I'm like, no, something is not right. Something is not right. As I was kept shaking him, and all of a sudden he stood up saying, "See, I told you I'm okay." And then all of a sudden he was normal. And then 5 minutes later, when he sat down on the bed again, then that's where it happened again, the same way. I didn't know that was exactly having a stroke, but that something was wrong. So, I didn't even call ambulance. I just I need to get him to the hospital. So, I think a woman, we always have those superwoman moment, where if something wrong, we kind of, automatic lift reflex is like, okay, come on, let's go. He's a shoot 235 pounds. And I'm 125 pounds, and I can really carry him. But luckily, he was able to work himself to the car, and I got him into the emergency room. And it was luckily to the South Suburban Hospital in Homewood, no, Hazelcrest. And right away, they carry him into the back, and it was just a scary moment. And we didn't know exactly what was going on, but the doctor told me that it was such a, when you have a stroke, it's the time is really critical. How fast that you can get to the hospital. You know what I mean? So luckily, when I got to hospital, that was like a 45, 50 minutes right after he had a stroke. So, that was really fast. And the doctor told me there's one medication he can give, to the patient if you get there within the 4 hours, okay, when you start having a stroke. So, Earl actually received the medication, and they can break all of the blood clots throughout his body, but he has to stay in the hospital for 48 to 72 hours. So literally, I would say that was God to me being there when he was having a stroke and catch the moment and took him to the hospital quick as we can, and got that medication and treatment. That was if I think back now, I even like, wow, if I talked to my mother, went to the different room, and he probably lay on the bed, I think he probably fell asleep. So I probably not going to wake him up until in the morning. You know what I mean? By then, maybe, he could have been dead. That's just, when I think about that, it is just such a, everything that happened. I guess that wasn't your time, man. Right now we can laugh about it, but at the time it was just a really scary moment for me. And it was funny thing that his oxygen level was literally 65%. Okay, the normal person is oxygen level is 98%. Okay, so he's not breathing half the time. And the nurse told me, like, his body, that's how he lived. Because they was doing, oxygen mask, and they had to bring actually like the super mask, to give him more oxygen. And when she looked at his record, it was no record. So she said, oh, he gotta be a healthy person because he don't have no record whatsoever, medical record. And I said, no, he don't have no medical record because he doesn't go to the doctor. That's the one thing, man, I would tell you this. Man, please take yourself to the doctor at least once a year to check up. Make sure you are okay. Okay? And a lot of time, men don't want to go to the doctor. And the Earls are one of them. So it was just a moment that we realized, yeah, we take care of our body. We think we did. But obviously, he has sleep apnea issues, and where he hasn't, his body cannot get enough oxygen. So what happened is hemoglobin level went up, which is a red blood cell, because the red blood cell the one that carry the oxygen. So body is not getting oxygen, so they have to produce more. So that's what happened, actually, that his body just continued to, produce a thick blood. So, and then, you had a stroke. Matter of fact, when he did a CAT scan and MRI, we find out that he had a 2 mild stroke before this. Okay, so this is a total of 3. We didn't know that. You know what I mean? And I actually remember Earl told me, like, previous, before this, he was having a big stroke, the last stroke. He was saying that, man, my arm is numb. I can't even hold a spoon. And we thought he had a pinched nerve. And Boris massaged and he recovered. And it happened twice. And I remember, and that's the craziest part, people. If you listen to it, any sign that something different, take yourself to the doctor. You know what I mean? Because if we think about it now, we could have probably saved it, for the third time. But I think one of the things that we are really, when we do weight training, we are athletes, we tend to ignore soreness or any, little feel different, our body, my joint hurts or, my arm numb or foot numb or whatever. Oh, this is just coming from a training. And it's not. So, we realized our age, Earl's is over 60, I'm over 50. We have to really, even though we taking care of ourselves, okay, eat best we can, good nutrition food, and then exercise consistently, these things that happen. So that's the one thing I learned from this experience, So, I just talking. Well, sharing an experience on my side, but how you feel first. I know that, as a man, and then you were, bodybuilder, and coming from that, now you cannot lift, the how you want to live, or, certain things that you have worked on, like a balance and things like that. How you truly feel.
Well, I can honestly say that I really feel God played a huge part in me being here, because I didn't, all the years I've been involved in this, I never realized how serious a stroke was. And I didn't even know after I had the stroke, because some people, they lose speech, they lose mobility, they lose use of limbs. And I didn't have any of that. So I'm thinking, well, it ain't that bad. But
yeah, I'm telling you, when he was in the ICU, he was literally paying the ass patient. I literally, these doctors and the nurses, I would say that thank you so much for taking care of this man, because he was like, okay, I'm down now. I'm good. Let me go. You know what I mean? I was like, dude, you just had a massive stroke. Like I said, luckily he was working out and he had a strength. So, speech therapist and the physical therapist did release to him after 5 days of he being in ICU. Normally, they even say this is not, they never really experienced that. The patient just came out of the 5 days later. They have to, like, okay, you don't have to have a, speech therapist or the physical therapist. So, luckily, he was okay, but it was not just a cold or flu. You had a stroke. So I would just keep on telling him, I'm like, you need to stop giving them a hard time.
well, for me, I didn't treat it as seriously as it was because I didn't know.
Right.
But and by not suffering like I've seen a lot of people suffer, I just felt like, okay, cool. But those things happen because, and if I know everybody think, oh, well, if he work out and he eat right, what he doing having strokes? Well, it doesn't prevent you from having strokes, but it does help you recover to whereas it doesn't attack you as serious as it does some people. So for me, being physically in shape helped me a lot because I've seen the people a lot worse, even death. I feel like God played a huge role in it, in saving me and not having the complications. But, since that time, my life has changed, not so much physically, because I'm okay with a lot of things. It changed mentally. And what I mean by that um, is I pay a lot closer attention going to my appointments, going to the doctors, getting checkups, making sure I'm okay. Because this has been 2 years past, and I've been to several doctors, neurologists, and actually my doctor wound up becoming
A client
a
of
client,
ours,
right?
yes.
And he really, talking to him, it really made me aware of how serious it could have been of having my third stroke. So I thank God that I turned out okay. It helped me, like I say, become more mentally and psychologically aware of what I eat. I have to watch my blood sugar. I had to go to a therapist. And all those things I had to do because I needed those things. It was like I always establishing discipline of eating is one thing I have to do because my blood sugar, I can't get that as it can't get out of control. So for me, unlike some other people, it was a little bit easier because I was already disciplined in eating food. So to have to look at what I eat and not eat too many carbs or sugar or anything like that, because I used to eat the hell out of sugar, boy. That was my thing.
That's another thing. Just because you're working out, that doesn't mean that you can't abuse the sugar.
Exactly. The best thing to do, what I can suggest of being through it, is get your checkups on time and check all your levels and make sure everything is okay. Because I would have never thought how I lived. I would have never thought it would be sleep apnea, which I knew I had, but thick blood. Damn, it took me out. Yeah.
And I don't think that a lot of people realize that reason too.
Yeah.
And it's a funny things. My oldest daughter, she's only 31, and she's the 5'2", 5'3", and she probably only weighed like a 130, 135. And she found out that she had sleep apnea. So that's what I'm saying is that it's a lot of time we are, oh, I'm young, I'm okay. Or I work out, I'm okay. No, if somebody tell you stop breathing when you are sleeping, you have to check yourself or go get the sleep test done. And that's, if you don't have it, hey, that's fine. But you can save a lot of damage, later on in your life. And I think that's what, as a Racial 101, we're trying to do, prevention.
Right.
You know what I mean? We don't want to get to a point where you had a stroke or you had a heart attack and where now you have really limitation. Okay, you cannot eat this. You cannot do this. You know what I mean? You don't want to live life like that. So what we're trying to do is, if you are borderline of anything, then you still have time to reverse it.
Right.
And especially diabetic or high blood pressure, when you work out and then when you eat right, some of them you can get off the medication. And then so that's why we encourage our clients to truly don't just wait until you got the last call. You know what I mean? Just let's try to prevent it, and then so you can have a better the quality life. Earl, thank God, luckily Earl's okay, but he still has to do cardio. He still have to work out, because if it doesn't, then he's a sugar out of control. You know what I mean? And a lot of time people, when you have a sugar issues or diabetic, a borderline of a blood sugar, that you guys have a high risk of the stroke.
Right.
And period. And it's a lot of time. My mom used to tell me all the time, sugar is based on all the sickness. You know what I mean? You can have it here and there. You can have, natural sugar like fruit, but overdoing it, and your body will give out one day.
And boy, that I used to overdo it. Man.
Yes.
I ate a lot of sugar.
Not only sugar, you're talking about alcohol, junk food. You know what I mean? Everybody have their, own weakness, and you think you got one more time, that's where it gets you. God will give you so many chances, and don't ignore it. You think you got one more time. I can do this one more time. And that's where you're going to realize, no, no more one more time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the meanings. The podcast that we do on Sundays, which is today, is called the Truth Podcast because
Truth over fitness.
the truth of fitness, because we try to enlighten people because we lived it, we've been through it. Fortunately, we happen to be trainers, and we're trying to pass on to people. So just like having a stroke, I can tell you firsthand um, about the checkup, which I used to never do. I never believed in going to the doctor. And like I say, a lot of things were taught to me more so emotionally and psychologically. Fortunately, God had a plan for me that it did not affect me so much physically, but I'm able to dedicate truth to this fitness, and that is, we've been through a lot of things. I was probably one of the healthiest people that I thought you'd ever meet, but I still damn near died. And so now I can sit here at this podcast, the Truth of Fitness podcast, and be very, very honest. It's like, you could still have a stroke and die. Just because you're healthy don't mean nothing. You have to, if I would have had my blood tested, I probably would have not had to go through it because they would have spotted it.
Well, you know what? Actually, they gave you the sign when 2019, I was in Japan, and he actually was admitted to the emergency room because at the time they didn't say, they don't know was COVID. COVID came like after that. They was telling him that he had a walking pneumonia. I think that was COVID.
Right.
So at that time, when I went back to your record, they say you had a high hemoglobin level,
Right.
right? And he was supposed to go back to the doctor, but this man didn't. You see what I'm saying? This is what I'm talking about. Always a sign. Always a sign. So if you ignore the sign, and God will let you know this is what happened. And he had a stroke at 22, right? 2022. That's so you had 3 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so he just so hard headed. I told him to go back to the doctor, but you can control a grown man, you know what I mean? But I guess, he truly, this is a learning for him. And also, it's your health anything can take away in any moment. You know what I mean? I had clients that got into car accident. Unfortunately, she had to lose her limb.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's so you have to really take care of yourself best you can every day. Be happy, you know what I mean? And things you stress, if you think about it, live or die, I mean, these are stress, guys. I mean, come on. Let's brush it off and keep on moving. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, the having the stroke and learning that the importance of life and how quickly it can change, and how much being a trainer you can impact people by going through your experiences it turns out to be a very, very good thing, because I can't tell you how many people that did not used to use their CPAP to breathe at night, and I had to talk to him and say, hey, dude, I'm telling you, they gave you a CPAP for a reason. And
now, his oxygen level actually 98%. So, when you wake up in the morning, you don't feel so tired. You know what I mean? And so, if you have experienced these type of things, we would suggest, make sure go get it checked. And that can save your life. Period. So
that was my story. Experience of going through a stroke. So I thank God that I'm still here. I'm still able to help people and talk to people and And like I said, inform them that, hey, I was you. I've been through that. I'm not a guy that's just sitting there talking and they ain't never been through nothing. I've been through it, and I'm here by God's will to let people know. It's a serious business. So, I'm hoping that, like any portion of the podcast that we do, that we can touch and inform people with the truth. That's why we call it the Truth of Fitness podcast. We tell you because we've been through it, not because we heard about it. We've been through it, and we can help a lot of people. And like I always say, Sir-Earl 1 at Comcast.net. I can always be reached for anything, any questions. 708-922-9650 is our contact number at the club. Ratio 1-to-1 at 180-61 Dixie Highway. And I welcome people. We have a wealth of knowledge and truth, and I welcome you to reach out and ask the question and save yourself a lot of things that you can save yourself from. We've been there. So until next time, it's your man, Sir-Earl, checking out of here. We'll catch you next week. We do these every Sunday. On Wednesdays, we have an interview with our clients to show you that working out is more than just about gaining muscles. It's called the life after the workout, how it can...
Life beyond the workout. Yes.
Life beyond the workout. So it can help you understand that just working out and being healthy, even like what I went through with the stroke, it saves your life. It saves your life. And that's what we're trying to do with reaching out to people with our podcast to help as many people as we can, because we've been through it. So until next time, it's your man, Sir-Earl. I'm checking out with Miss Chie, Figure Prodigy to Louis.
See you later.
All right. Love you guys. Thanks.